Hello everyone, today I'm doing something a little different than my last videos. Today I'm doing a coding lesson in HTML coding. So to begin, you need to have Notepad opened up, which if you're using Windows then you definitely have this. To find it, you need to go into your start bar, which should be in the bottom left corner of your screen. Click on that, and then there should be a little search bar where you can, if you have a newer Windows version, then you can search for Notepad, or if you have an older version, then you can look for it. It should be somewhere in your start bar. If you're using a Mac, I have another option, which is a website. It's called JSFiddle.net, and on here it actually comes with three different kind of coding you can do: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which CSS and JavaScript are just two different coding languages that maybe we'll cover in future lessons. But HTML, you would just use this box. If you're using JSFiddle, you just use this box to code in what I'm teaching you, and then you can save your project, or you can run it, which the result comes out over here. So we're going to be using Notepad. So let's begin. So in HTML coding, HTML coding is used mainly to make, it's used to make web pages on the web. So if this website is HTML is part of making it. It's like the kind of like the what every website has, what every website's made of. So in HTML, each of the little elements that you use are used with angle brackets. They're surrounded by angle brackets. So to begin an HTML document, you always start with HTML surrounded by angle brackets. That's what you start with. There's some different ways to begin with, like doc types and things like that, but I'm not going to get into that quite yet because that's more complicated. And then inside these two HTML tags, you put in all the content of the page. To end a tag, to close it off, you do the same thing, but instead, before the word, you add a slash. Like that, a backslash, or a forward slash. I don't know, but it's a slash. So inside these two HTML tags is where you have all the content. So let's kind of separate these. So let's start with a simple P tag. The P tag stands for paragraph. So this is how you write your paragraphs. So let's just write a sample thing in this paragraph. We'll just write hello world. Subscribe, this is not Instagram, to Computer Sarah on YouTube. And then you end off the P tag. And then here's your basic little HTML coding. So when you save your document, I'm just gonna show you the example. When you save it, you do save as, and then you do whatever you want to call it. In this case, we'll just call it Computer Sarah Computer Sarah lesson HTML. Always end it with that. You don't want a text document. Like, it's going to say text document here, but you always want to end it with HTML so it saves it as an HTML document. So now, go into your files and we can open this up. And, let's see. So, computer, Sarah. And it's going to search this. Listen. And make sure that it says open with, you open with whatever browser you use, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, whatever you use. So let's open this up. So as you can see, this is extremely basic. Just a white background with some, I think this is Times New Roman text, black text, just very basic. HTML is only like the basics of making a web page. You still have JavaScript, which makes websites more interactive, and CSS, which makes websites have more color and more detail. So back to the HTML. So as you can see, none of these tags that you put in show up on your web page, obviously. That's just the coding. So that's your paragraph that you have right there. Which, make sure you're doing this. Follow the instructions. So let's see. So now we have. I'm gonna teach you another tag that you can use. Which this is the header, or kind of like the title tag. So how I'll explain that is, it's basically like if you're writing a paper for school or whatever, and you're writing it and you have the title at the top. Let's say you put essay at the top in bigger writing, and that's where what your essay is called, just essay. Well, that's what I mean. So I'll show you. So this is the title. So we're using different types. We're using the header tag, which is an H. And then there's a number. The number in the header tag is for how big you want it to be. And let me give you an example. I'll do header 2, smaller title, header 3, even smaller title, smaller, and now let's see what this looks like. Oops. See? That's what the different headers look like. So here's your biggest and boldest, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller as the text tells you. So those are some tags you can use. Let's see. Now I'm going to talk about the bold tag. The bold tag is when you just want to have, when you have bold writing. So let's have subscribe. When am I going to get this in my head? Subscribe to Computer Sarah. And then close off the B tag, which is for bold. Save that. We're going to open this. And here's bold writing, which is very similar, if not like identical, to header 4. So, what a coincidence. But anyway, then you have, if you want to have italics, which is basically the kind of slanted writing. You should know what italics means. So use the EM tag. So let's see, we'll write in this, right? Sample, right? Computer Sarah rocks. make sure to close it. You can open it again. And here. There we go. And I want to talk to you about like if. So this is what happens if you don't add the slash at the end. So basically what happens is the tag continues. So what I mean by that is this is what's going to happen. So say we're going to write in bold. We're going to write hello everyone. And we don't put the slash. And then we do another line and we try to do italics. And we write what's up? And then we end this. This is what's going to happen. See, this text is going to be bold as well because we didn't end it. So it's going to continue to be bold up until here. Up until it's ended by the italics with the slash. But then we can change it if we just, whoops. And if we just add that slash in, then this doesn't get bolded. See? Not bolded. And let's see how much more time we have here. Well, it looks like we are pretty much out of time, so I think I'm going to conclude this tutorial and I'm going to go into a second tutorial for next time on more advanced HTML coding. And that I think we're probably going to have 3 HTML lessons, possibly 4, and then we'll get into CSS. And eventually we're going to have a nice looking web page. So, thanks so much for watching. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you had fun coding. Coding rocks. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And thanks again.